Robert Conkey, producer at Activision.
So what are you showing new here at Gamescom?
So we are showing Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. We're talking about the upgrade system for the prosthetic arm tools. We're talking about how the revive system works. We're going into more detail around how combat is working. We're really excited to share it.
Let's talk about a little bit the combat. How similar is this to, I'm going to say it, Dark Souls?
It's very different. So you'll notice actually, if you get the chance to play the hands-on, you'll notice that there's actually a step button, similar to what you'd see in Bloodborne. But there's, unlike previous titles, there's a jump, and it allows you to cover a lot of distance quickly. You can block, you can deflect, you can use arm tools, and attack in midair. It really changes the dynamic of combat. And then just the way that the battle works at its core, it's focused around this kind of clashing of swords idea and whittling down your opponent's posture while also trying to keep your own. So it's a completely different way of thinking about combat in a FromSoftware game.
So in its own way, it's not a Dark Souls predecessor, but its own unique experience.
It definitely is very different. I mean, if you've played Dark Souls, you're going to feel some immediate familiarity with how the characters move, how the enemies move, and things like that, but there's going to be a large learning curve. Actually, it's funny because a lot of players who are used to those titles have a pretty tough time at first because there's so many new things to get used to.
You talk about some of the new abilities you can have in the game.
Sure, so we're in the hands-on demo, we're featuring 3 arm tools in particular. So one is what we're calling a loaded axe. It's this huge axe that you bring out that you may have seen in the trailer. It can break enemy shields. It does a huge amount of damage. It's slow, but it is really powerful. There's another one where you can light enemies on fire, as well as your sword on fire. And then we have a shuriken that allows you to hit enemies at a distance and quickly close the gap. You can do this cool sword slash attack that covers a huge amount of distance immediately after using it.
Now, in Bloodborne and Dark Souls, if you built your character, I wouldn't say wrong, but if you build him difficult, your life was going to be more difficult. How are you handling that build system in this game?
So actually, this time around, the progression system is completely different. We're not going into extreme detail on how it works just yet. It's still being worked on. But instead of going with stats or specific builds per se, like you would have in those titles, the progression works in a different way. It's more centered around gaining and upgrading your arm tools, as well as new abilities for your character that'll enable you to have a wider variety of tactics in battle, as well as other aspects such as stealth. You can actually hide and kind of cull enemy numbers before you take on the big battle. If there's a huge mini boss, you can take out the guys around him if you're smart about it. So there's a lot of different ways this time.
Since you're a producer from FromSoftware, I have to ask you, Dark Souls or Bloodborne?
I'm actually not from FromSoftware, I'm Activision.
Okay.
So that's a really hard question, man. Both of them are unique and interesting in their own ways. Personally, I like the faster style of Bloodborne, but Dark Souls is absolutely an amazing experience as well, so it's a tough choice.
When does the game come out and what platforms will it be on?
It's March 22nd, 2019 on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC.